to episode 286 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I am your host, Matt Harmon, joined live in our virtual studio on the internet by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who is in his business casual attire, John Scott Sloat.
Yeah, the top floor of McLean Hall on Grace's campus is not well air conditioned.
I remember that from the days when my office was up there.
And so I give up the sport coats and go short sleeves.
Yeah. It's got to be pretty quiet on campus.
Yeah, parking's great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
overall, people pop in, come around, but for the most part, I don't hear from anybody.
So I'd imagine that means you're being exceptionally productive, right?
Yes, yes, yes. It's been a very productive summer.
There you go. Well, I'm glad that one of us is having a productive summer.
Oh yeah, you're probably not having the same writing output as usual.
Not even close. Not even close.
Are you getting any writing done in this state?
Um, I have gotten almost nothing done. I managed to tidy up a typology paper that was basically done. And yesterday I did work on the on my Luke commentary a little bit. Working with one eye is as you can imagine, relatively challenging. And so
Yeah,
there's certain kinds of work that are just very difficult, more detailed, like looking across 7 columns of text and comparing Hebrew and Greek and English and all that kind of stuff is not exactly the easiest thing to do with 2 reasonably healthy eyeballs, let alone 1.
Hmm.
So in any case, I'm just grateful to be fully upright, no longer tilting. We'll have to see if that continues since I have to go back in under the knife for another procedure here soon. But it is possible they'll have to have me tilt again, which I hope is not the case.
Oh goodness, really? I did not know that.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. How long did you have to tilt before?
About 10 days.
Oh goodness
And
gracious.
I still have to do it at night when I sleep.
When you eventually lay down on your back to sleep, your body's not going to know what to do with itself.
Well, yes, being able to lay on my other side will be an amazing experience at this point.
Ugh.
So I have to lay fully on my left side at a 60-degree angle. And, that creates all sorts of interesting pain and discomfort in the legs, the neck, the back, the hip. But
You need
what's the
massage.
strangest, what's the strangest side effect of that is my ear. My left ear is
Really?
sore. Yeah.
From like the pressure on it? Is that what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah. So very strange. Very strange. I very much look forward to the day when I can lay flat and rotate sides and sleep like a normal human being.
Mm.
So, Lord willing, someday, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. If you'd like to contact the show and give me some suggestions on how to better sleep at a 60-degree angle, you can find us on Twitter at VNSPod. You can email the show, various and sundry podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star rating. And we want to welcome any new listeners who might have joined the podcast after our interview last week with Matt Smethurst. What were your thoughts on the interview?
I thought Matt was a great guy. I thought he was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
really got into the Jordan conversation.
he did. He did. And I, I hope he doesn't upset that we share this kind of behind the scenes. I mean, he did say that was the most fun he'd had on a podcast interview.
Yeah, we're proud to wear that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So There is that. So if you've jumped onto the program after hearing our interview with him, you are catching us on the upswing. We are in stride. We are on our game. So, all right, John, let's talk a little sports. Um, Obviously, as we record on this Monday afternoon, we're in the aftermath of the NBA Finals being complete. The Thunder beat the Pacers in Game 7 to win the series 4 games to 3.
What'd you make of it?
And well, I'll just say if you're we for our listeners' benefit, we do have show notes that I put together that we kind of work off of as a rough outline. And I had written yesterday afternoon, OKC beats the Pacers in 7 games. SGA is the MVP, assuming that was what's going to happen. And that is, in fact, what happened. That's not really, impressive. It's not like I have the gift of prophecy or anything, but um, I think how it went down was a little surprising in that uh, Tyrese Halliburton got hurt 7 minutes into the game. And I think as soon as he went down, my first thought was that's his Achilles because he was fighting through a calf strain. And apparently, when you're playing with a calf strain, you put more pressure and tension on your Achilles and you are more susceptible to tearing it. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so it was. So I saw some speculation that it was an Achilles. I had not seen confirmation, but it's definitely an Achilles.
Well, I'm just going with, I mean, last night during the broadcast, they, so during the broadcast, they said his dad confirmed it. Now, he's not a medical expert, obviously, but I'm guessing that, the team doctor who examined him did a quick look and probably determined, yeah, that's an
Yeah.
Achilles. And that's what he told Tyrese and told his family. And so I'm sure it'll be confirmed sometime today. And what's killer about that is that's a full year
Right.
recovery. So he's
Right.
going
So
to be
we're
out
look.
the entirety of next season.
Uh, Goodness. Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean,
Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, yes. Yeah. So in any case, I think
so is that the story coming out of the game last night was Halliburton's hurt?
well, probably. I mean, I, it's interesting to me that outside of Oklahoma City, I just don't get the sense that this team is well liked.
Hmm.
Like clearly the national media doesn't really like them. Um, and of course it's a small market team. I don't know. I don't think I think the way that um Shea Gilders Alexander, their MVP, I think the way that he is able to draw so many foul calls, I think annoys everybody except for Oklahoma City fans when
Sure.
they see the whistles he gets and how he flails and, you know, gets calls that are borderline, those kinds of things. I don't know. I don't enjoy that kind of basketball. And what's crazy is he's a terrific player. He doesn't
Hmm.
need that. But in any case, did you watch any of it? I know it started at 8. You had a chance before your bedtime.
No, I just went to bed. I watched highlights in the morning. I checked Twitter before I went to bed and saw the tear of the ACL, or excuse me, the Achilles.
And
But
he
other
was
than that,
playing well up to that. He had already hit 3
Mhm.
triples and was, playing well, but once he went down, it's like there's just no way that I mean the Pacers did lead at halftime by 1, but just there was no way they're going to be able to sustain that throughout the whole game.
Is Oklahoma City the smallest market to ever win a championship at the professional level? I think if we get to the college level, we get into some really small, state college
Right.
is really small. But is Oklahoma City in professional sports the smallest market I'll say the Modern Era in case, some tiny town won something. Maybe Green
Albany won
Bay.
an NBA. Albany won an ABA championship in the
Yeah, yeah.
70s.
Um, I suppose Green Bay would be smaller than Oklahoma City.
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Hmm.
You want to look that up? You want to do our crack some crack research here?
Yeah, I can give it a shot. Um,
But yeah, I mean, they used to be. I mean, this franchise originated in
Seattle.
Seattle. So, and did they win an NBA championship in like the late 70s? I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it is a small market team. I'm sure the ratings have been terrible outside of, Oklahoma and Indiana. So I'm not entirely sure that yeah. I I mean, they're a young team, so they have the chance of being good for a while, which I don't think the league is super thrilled about, but it is what it is.
All right. So the Oklahoma City media market is 762,000 people,
Okay.
television households. Any guess on Green Bay? Is it higher or lower than Green Bay?
I'm gonna go lower.
Green Bay is only 450,000
Yeah. Yeah.
television households. So Oklahoma City is quite a bit,
Almost twice as big.
yeah, is a decent chunk size larger.
Yeah. I mean, part of the difference though is that Green Bay has been a historic NFL franchise. Like it's one of the, if you came up with a list of the five most historic NFL franchises, the Packers would obviously be on that, even
Um,
though they're a small media market.
do you want to guess some of the cities that are larger? I have found a list of sized media markets in the United States that are larger than Oklahoma City that does not have a professional sports team.
Larger, but doesn't have a professional sports team. Um, Boise. Is Boise on there?
Ooh, let me
Boise,
see.
Idaho.
So Oklahoma City's number 47.
Okay.
Boise's got to be on here, right?
Probably lower. I'm taking a flyer on Boise.
Well, you want to know what? I can control F. Boise's 98,
Wow.
so quite a bit smaller.
Okay. So no professional sports team. Um, what about Madison, Wisconsin?
Okay.
It's a college town.
77.
Okay.
Oklahoma City's bigger than I thought.
Doesn't have a professional sports team. I don't know. Pick one for me.
Okay. Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
Number 45. That includes Tuscaloosa.
All right.
Let's see. Greenville, Spartanburg, Asheville, Anderson.
Wow.
36. Largest
Okay.
media market. Let me see. Boy, this one's tough. This might be the largest. Hartford and New Haven,
Oh, yeah.
32. That's so close to others, though.
Hmm.
And I think might be the largest. I'm looking through the rest.
Probably. Probably.
Raleigh Durham. No, Raleigh has a professional hockey team.
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
my big takeaway is Oklahoma City's bigger than I thought.
Okay. There you go. Let's briefly hit on how your Mets are doing these days.
Ugh. We had a 6 game losing streak last week, so it's been It's been a trying time. So we're getting some pitchers back off the IL. We just sent down a 23-year-old catcher who isn't hitting. He needs to start hitting. It's been a tough stretch of the season, and we need to bounce back.
Okay. You're going to have those in the course of a 162 game season, though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you're also going to have, when you win six in a row or seven in a
Yeah.
row. So
Yeah.
it happens. Anything else
Yes.
going on sports wise we need to talk about?
I don't think so, unless you wanted to do a sabermetrics update.
Oh man, I didn't prepare one, but maybe next
Okay.
week I'll do a
Maybe next
sabermetric.
week. Maybe
Yeah,
next week.
we can talk about oh my goodness, we can talk about weighted on we can talk about expected WOBA next week.
There you go. There you go. All right, John, let's move on to our topic for the day. Our regular listeners will know that one of the things that um really starting last year, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
That
last
we
year.
that we became aficionados of is a report that's released every year called the State of the Bible. And beginning in April, they release every month a new set of findings related to statistical research they've done. And so we've done a number of episodes now on this. And the one that they released most recently is a chapter on human flourishing, the Bible and human flourishing. And so that too is a topic that we've talked about a decent bit in our 286 episode history. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. So this chapter deals with the whole area of human flourishing. Again, I think I've expressed my qualms with, or at least hesitations with this term. How do we define it? Who gets to define it? What I might define as flourishing, others might not, and vice
Sure.
versa.
They at least take some time and say like, hey, we're going based on this study that
Yeah.
Harvard does, right? And
Yep.
so Harvard
Yep.
came out with, what is it, six areas they do surveys about. So the six areas are happiness and life satisfaction, that's one. Mental and physical health, that's two. Meaning and purpose, three. Character and virtue, four. Social relationships, five. And financial and material stability, six.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, there's a lot of data in here. Um, do you want to do anything with the flourishing in America and the world section, or do you just want to jump directly into um, more of the generational breakdown and Bible use and that kind of thing? What do you want to do?
Probably want to skip the around the world bit. It just kind of ranks the countries. It doesn't
Yeah.
do much else. It does a little bit with safety, which is interesting. But I think the flourishing year over year is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go ahead and start there.
Okay, so the first graph they have human flourishing domains and secure flourishing domains, and they track the last 5 years throughout the United States each January for the various ones. In 2025, everything is a tick up except for social relationships, which are steady. Am I getting that right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, flat. Yeah, that's right. Everything else is up.
What do you make of that? Why is it up?
Um, I don't know if I have a good explanation. I mean, I think we've talked a little bit on the show here about, you've heard people talk about the so-called vibe shift
Yeah.
and some of the cultural pushback against some of the more progressive ideologies tend to that tend to highlight division and lead to conflict and tension within our culture. So I mean that's the best I've got. I don't know. Do you have any idea as to why? I mean, the economy, I guess, is really hasn't dramatically changed in that time period.
Yeah, I will say that finances and material stability is substantially lower than everything else.
Yeah,
Even though it's trending similarly, it's consistently year over year much lower.
yeah.
And what I think is interesting is 2021, January 2021 is much lower than all the others because all the others bounce back after 2020. Like they have a January 2020 number and then a June
Hmm.
2020 number, which is the only year they did this survey twice.
Right, because they did it like what, a month before a couple months before COVID
That's
really
right.
happens, and then they did it early in the pandemic in June, which that's where, especially on the financial piece, you see things headed downward, but it still goes down even further in January of 2021.
I do find that one really interesting because everybody else, all the other categories seem to rebound in January 2021.
Hmm.
But why is it going up? I think the vibe session is the right answer. I don't think I fully know why. Just like I don't fully understand why more people are engaging with their Bibles than before that we saw in earlier chapters of this.
Hmm.
I don't fully understand why. I just can see it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the generations thing. And so under they break it down by Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, and boomers. And consistently you've got the boomers, sorry, boomers plus, I guess, leading the way in overall human flourishing score, as well as happiness and life satisfaction, and then close social relationships. No surprise there, right?
I yeah, I don't think there's any I don't think there's any surprise there. No. I do
Yeah.
think the close social relationships that breaks it down in sort of that a smaller graph where Gen Z really jumped up in 2025 compared to 2024.
Yeah. What do you make of that?
I have no idea. I I had one thought where it was like, oh my goodness, this is banning schools in or banning phones in high schools. That's why this is. But I just don't think so, and I can't think of a good reason why.
I mean, the report has a section in here where it says maybe some members of Gen Z are finding a satisfying balance in their connections within the real and virtual world. Um, and then when they broke it down within the Gen Z category, younger Gen Z, ages 18 to 22, older Gen Z, 23 to 28, it's the younger group that scored significantly higher on close social relationships.
Hmm.
And they make the point of it could just reflect the fact that many of them are involved in a college community. They're still in college, they still have a lot of friends and associations. I do think that for a lot of Gen Z, um, those initial couple of years after college are especially hard in that category because they go from an environment where they're just surrounded typically
Yeah.
by lots of relationships into a new work environment, maybe a new city where they're starting from scratch. They're rebuilding from nothing or very little their social networks. And so they feel more isolated. They don't have those connections. Um, and so maybe that's part of the issue.
Yeah. Another thing that pops up in that section is the role education plays in human flourishing. And I think this is just an evergreen paragraph that will remain to be true into the future, that education plays a major role in human flourishing. Obviously, you make more money when you go to school, but they find that the more education, the more flourishing in all domains that exist, um, than compared to those with lower education.
I think there's a potential for that to change.
You think so?
I do.
Why is that?
Because I think there are more and more, there's more and more of a push for people to go into the trades.
Hmm.
And I think there's more and more of an aversion among um, Gen Z, like, or whatever we're calling this next. I guess it'd be, is it Alpha, the Alpha generation? Is that what's next?
That's what some have called it. Yeah.
Um, that there's an aversion to going into debt. There's a, there are more and more questions about, is there really value in a college education for everyone? And so when you put when you put together the cost of college education, you put together the aversion to massive debt, I do think you're going to see more and more people start to strongly consider going the trade route out of high school.
Sure.
And when they end up, you know, making decent money as in the trades and being able to do things that maybe their peers who went to college can't do, like buy a house and afford certain kinds of lifestyles that those can't because they've got massive school debt or that kind of thing. I think there's a potential for that to shift a little bit in the next 5 to 10 years.
And you think that will have a direct impact on their flourishing?
Yeah, I think so. Because I feel like one of the things you're seeing, and again, hard to know what to make of this when you see it as a social media trend, but you see these posts of these people who are like, I was sold a lie. I went to college and I came out with $50,000 in debt and I hate the job I'm in and I can't afford to buy a house and can barely scrape by to live in an apartment and I'll never be able to buy a house and my parents think, like that sort of generational angst. I think again, it's a social media thing. Who knows how widespread that is, but it is certainly present out there, I would say.
I mean, housing definitely provides a significant challenge,
Hmm.
just in the cost. But I think that hits rent and mortgage alike. I don't think it's just one or the other, but I think affording a house is becoming more and more expensive. Um,
Sure.
um, but I do think that there's part of me that wants, and there is part of me that goes, the trades are necessary and good, and I think that's a form of its own kind of education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, um, However, I'd also say that I think for, I don't know, for a couple thousand years maybe, education has been a way for social mobility, and I think it will continue
Yeah, I think so too.
to be that way.
Um, Under the breakdown by gender, thought this was interesting. So they broke it down by gender in each of the generations, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, boomers. In
Yeah.
all of those generational breakdowns, the men have higher scores than the women.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And it's statistically significant enough to be
Yeah.
noteworthy.
Yeah. I mean, it's out of 10, right?
Right.
Uh, and the men score point 3, point 4 higher,
Yeah.
sometimes more.
Yeah. Um, which is interesting. I don't know. Um, I don't necessarily why that is, though it's interesting in the paragraph leading up to it. They highlight that marital status clearly affects human flourishing, with married people scoring higher in every category than the never married.
Hmm.
Um, and again, here's where I think we need to distinguish between, um, marriage is a great thing. It's a good gift of God. It's not an ultimate thing. Um, but, um, it's one thing to talk about marriage in the context of people who desire it but have not found a suitable spouse versus the ones who are like, oh, I just love being independent and marriage is a shackle that I don't want to have to wear and that kind of thing. Um, but let's jump to the faith and human flourishing in the remaining time we've got. What did you make of this section? What are some things that stood out to you?
Just that people of faith trounce non-people of faith and flourishing.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be the yeah, and I mean you can go into Bible use. It's the same. Like there's definitely a
Yeah.
trend between daily Bible reading and regular flourishing.
Yep. Yeah. Prayer, meditation, volunteering, and they make the note of those are not explicitly necessarily Christian things, that non-Christians can do those,
Hmm.
but that even engaging in those activities tends to lead to a higher uh, level of human flourishing, um, as well as having a belief in God's activity in their life. Um, you know, it's but to me the thing that just I mean was the staggering one was the chart they do on human flourishing by faith participation. So they break it down between non-Christians, nominal Christian, casual Christian, and practicing Christian, and they make their distinctions there. Practicing Christians attend services at least once a month, which I don't think is a very high bar, but in any
No,
case,
no.
say their faith is very important to them. Casual Christians at least attend at least monthly, but don't say their faith is very important to them. Nominal Christians don't attend that often. Non-Christians obviously don't make any profession. But what's staggering to me is it's off the charts when it comes to the highest score on human flourishing is practicing Christians.
Yeah, and do you think it's the meaning and purpose category skewing this? Do you think it's
I
um
think so.
you
I,
think it's that specific
I think
category?
it's that, and I think it's also, I would say that a practicing Christian is more likely to have a biblical view on finances and wealth, and therefore is probably able to be content with whatever sort of financial status they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought of that too. Yeah. It's it's interesting. Yeah. And then, I think church is a bit of a cheat code for a number of the categories, right? I mean,
Hmm.
like let me get back to the categories so I can tick them off here real quick. But like uh meaning and purpose, obvious. Character and virtue, also obvious. It's a built-in network of close social relationships, right?
Yeah.
Um, Happiness and satisfaction, I also think accords with going to church. Physical health, maybe not that much. I've been going to church for
Hmm.
years. I don't see a whole lot of physical health. Um, but I think the opportunity is there for it. And then financial and material stability. I mean, I think the scriptures themselves have a lot to say about that. Um,
Hmm.
and I have my qualms with him, but I think Dave Ramsey, for the most part, is a really good force in the church for helping people understand finances.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
I,
I just think a lot of things are baked into being you're a practicing Christian. These are some of the outcomes.
sure. Um, I thought it was fascinating. The last section they have here is um, involvement in a Bible study group.
I saw that. Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? Those who
Hmm.
participate in a Bible study group had an average human flourishing score of 7.9, far exceeding the national average in every domain. People who participate in a Bible study group also saw higher flourishing levels across every domain than those using any other Bible reading method. Fascinating.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Um, e- every small group pastor in America is going to be, if they're looking at this, they're going to be, banging the drum on this one. Um, but, you know, I, I think in one sense that makes sense because that typically is a step beyond just I attend church every Sunday.
Hmm.
That's another time where you're meeting with other Christians, you're in God's word, often you're praying. And again, Bible study groups can vary in terms of quality and what they do, but I mean it is striking how much that makes a difference. Even just over other, practicing Christians who are not in a Bible study group. It's a pretty staggering difference for sure.
Yes, and I think anytime we talk about human flourishing and the virtues that church attendance, Christian faith have for flourishing, for giving people life satisfaction, things like that, it's always important to mention, yes, Christianity is useful, but it's only useful because it's true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and this should not be something like, "Oh, you should become a Christian because
Yeah,
you'll have a
you-
better life." I
you'll
mean,
have better
this
meaning and purpose. You'll have closer relationships with folks.
yeah. Um it is this could easily turn into a subtle form of prosperity gospel kind of light
Absolutely.
where it's like, "Oh, you want a better life? Well, then become a Christian." They have the
Yes.
highest human flourishing scores.
Or as
Um,
one conservative author in his recent book just said, just go to church, even if you don't believe.
yeah,
Just go. You'll have better results if you just go to church. And I think because he is a Christian, uh, uh, I think he would say like, and I hope you find it true, in the
yeah,
midst of that, but
yeah. But here's the thing. I do think these kinds of um, statistical studies can help push back against one form of cultural narrative, which is, oh, Christianity is so oppressive. And really, the key to being happy is being freed from these traditional oppressive Christian beliefs that hold you back. And really, the path to happiness in life is throwing off those chains and abandoning those things and just discovering and being whoever you want to be and being able to say, well, that sounds all nice and good, but that doesn't match up with actual statistical data about how people report their own experience of life.
hmm.
So, and I will say, I made fun of every, of the small group pastors out there, but, this is something that is another piece to that of this is why we value small groups.
Oh yeah.
Like, because you're in a closer community, you do have an opportunity to have others involved in your life to help you understand the scriptures, help point you to Christ, help you find and be reminded of what is the true meaning and purpose of life. It's not caught up in these other things that the culture says it is. And it's no wonder that has a statistically verifiable outcome.
Yep.
Anything else on this, John, before we move on?
I don't think so. I think I'm ready to move on.
All right. We'll be sure to put a link in the show notes pointing to this again.
Yep.
And again, these are free downloads. I mean, it's not, you basically enter your name and your email address, and they give you access to the whole PDF. And um, I think this is again just a nice helpful cultural snapshot to help those in ministry have a sense of what the culture thinks and how the church can connect with that. So, all right, time now for this day in sports history.
All right, this day in sports history, June the 24th. June 24, almost halfway through the year, right about there.
Yeah. I mean, we've crossed the summer solstice now, so we're officially into summer.
Yeah, we've crossed the Rubicon, so to speak. Different metaphor there. Sorry.
Shorter
Uh,
days ahead, John. Shorter
yeah.
days ahead.
Uh, June 24th, 1921, Paavo Nurmi runs world record. What is that? 10,000 meters in
Yeah,
30 minutes and 40 seconds.
that's pretty fast.
That's moving.
I'm sure the world record now is probably like 28 something.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's gone down. 1982, the Philadelphia Phillies infielder uh, Pete Rose. Did Pete Rose play
Yeah,
for the Phillies? Wow,
he
I
did.
thought he was in
Yeah.
Cincinnati the whole time.
Nope.
Gets his 3,772nd career hit and moves past Hank Aaron into second place. Good for him.
He's no longer with us.
Right, and I think did he get in the hall?
Did they announce that? I think they did, didn't they?
I think they did. 94, 1994. 48th NBA championship, the Houston Rockets beat the Knickerbockers 4 games to 3.
That's the closest they've been to a championship in since they won. What was it 73? They last won.
Yeah, I think that's right, 73. When the Garden was Eden, as the 30 for 30 is called. Also, same day, 94, Ken Griffey Jr. breaks Ruth's record for most home runs by the end of June at 31. That's a ton of home runs.
Yeah,
I mean, just a ton. 2017 NBA draft, Washington point guard Markelle Fultz, first pick by the 76ers.
he never panned out.
That went south really poor. Like he couldn't shoot or free
He came in. I
throws.
think he came in with I think a lingering shoulder issue, and they tried to change his shot form. It just all went south for him. I'm not even sure if he's in the league anymore. Um, but yeah, he was a bust. Oh, he's still in the league. He is with, let's see here, Sacramento. He's with the Sacramento Kings. During this most recent season, he averaged 2.9 points, 1 rebound, 1.3 assists, and shot 41.8% from the floor.
Yikes.
Yeah,
So he's
that's
seeing
tough.
minutes.
I guess
Uh,
so.
2022, Los Angeles Angels pitcher
Hmm.
Shohei Ohtani strikes out a career high 13 batters, retires 23 of 24 batters faced. Oh, last 23 of last 24. In a 5-0 win over the Royals in Anaheim.
There you go. All right. So, John, who do you like out of that?
I like Ken Griffey Jr. personally.
I agree. I love Ken Griffey. I always enjoyed watching him play. He had the smoothest swing.
He had the spiritual gift of coolness. Just everything he did was cool.
And I mean, I'm not aware of um, any. I mean, he played during the steroid era, and yet I'm not aware of
No,
any accusations that he was part of that crowd.
no, if he had been, he'd been a lot healthier toward the end of his career.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but
He's also had a bit of a second act here as a photographer.
really, I did not know this.
Yeah, yeah. There were images of him. I want to say it was at the Masters taking photos.
Huh.
And so he has some photos on like Getty Images and stuff like that.
Wow. How
Yeah, I'll
about
send you.
that?
I'll find an article. I'll send it to you.
There you go. All right. One thing you liked.
All right. So my wife and I bought a new stove for our home.
Hmm.
That doesn't sound very exciting, but we got induction stovetop. Are you familiar with what this is? An
Uh,
induction stove?
Vaguely. Yeah.
Okay. So the basics are you have to use a magnetic pan on it, and it transfers the heat somehow through the magnetism. And so it does not get as hot, but it cooks food twice as fast
Hmm.
and uses less energy.
Okay.
And so it's we just installed it over the weekend. It's been a ton of and it You know me, it came with an app, and I can now turn on and off my oven from my phone. Uh, it's great.
Yes. My family likes to make fun of me about any household appliance that has an app.
Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
lo And I just say, I mean, look at the convenience. I mean, I pull up the app on my phone and I can tell it to vacuum. I can tell my vacuum to go vacuum the bedroom or, vacuum the kitchen or whatever. So,
Yeah, it's a
you
great
know,
convenience.
it is. It is. As long as they don't turn against us.
Which you want to know what? There's other people out there using it, so if they turn against us, they'll all turn against all of us. And you might as well get the convenience of it now.
There you go. There you go. My one thing I liked this past week after my appointment in Indianapolis with the eye doctor, my wife and I went out to lunch um, with our son John at Bub's Burgers.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Great burger place. There's a couple locations there in the Indianapolis area. Had a terrific burger, and they have excellent waffle fries. I would say far surpassing those of Chick-fil-A.
I don't think that's hard. I
I
I
I agree. I think the waffle fries are a little overrated at Chick-fil-A, but in any case, like these have the perfect, like just a little bit of crispness on the outside, but still inside nice and tender and tasty. So had a great burger, good waffle fries. Very much enjoyed that. So that is my one thing I liked. All right, John, we have talked NBA Finals. We have talked the Bible and human flourishing. We have talked Ken Griffey Jr. We have talked your new induction stove. And we've talked about Bub's Burgers in Indianapolis. So I think by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. And so all that's left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless y'all real good.
later.